Hi everybody and welcome once again to Ruby's Classic Cooking. And today I'm making thimble cookies. Now, you probably have no idea what the heck a thimble is, most of you out there. It was a thing worn on your finger to protect it from when you're sewing. But that has nothing to do with these cookies. Basically, they're known as thimble cookies or thumbprint cookies because you have to make a dint in the cookie. You're not going to use your thumb to make a thumbprint in the top of the cookie because you'd burn your thumb. So instead I have a couple of nifty devices for that. I have this little thing which I can squish a hole in my top of my cookie dough, or this one. I don't know which one I'm going to use today, but we'll find out later which one works better. You need a dint. Well, the reason why you need a dint in the top of your cookie is because you're going to put some nice jam or jelly in that cookie. Yum. So let's get making these cookies, and so we can get to the good part, which is eating them in the end. And you get to choose whatever kind of jam or jelly you put in these cookies, whatever your favorite kind is. I have to tell you, this is a very simple recipe. There's not very many ingredients. There's no milk, there's no vanilla, there's no baking soda or baking powder. This is a really easy, simple recipe. First of all, I'm going to start out with a half a cup of butter. Now you can use butter or margarine, whichever you prefer, or if you don't want to use either one of those, you can always use whatever kind of oil you use when the recipe calls for butter or margarine. And a quarter of a cup of plain old white sugar, caster sugar in the UK, because that's a fine white sugar. And if you prefer to use something else instead of fine white sugar, hey, feel free. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to blend these two together, cream them together, which means your butter needs to be nice and soft in room temperature so that it will blend easily. If it happens to be from the refrigerator, you might want to use an electric beater to do this part, because if it's not room temperature butter, it's going to take you a while to get them integrated. Because you start out with two ingredients in your bowl, and you're going to end up with a mixture that just combines both of them. So there's no loose sugar left in this bowl when I'm finished. Just to make a real big batch of cookies, it says it only makes 2 dozen, so this is perfect if you don't have a large family you want to feed them to. There now, that's what it looks like when it's all blended together. Put that to one side, because right now I'm going to separate an egg. This is a grade A white large. You can use brown or green or whatever color chicken eggs you like to use. I'm going to be separating this because I'm going to be using the egg yolk for one thing and the egg white for something else. So let's get these separated. These are nice fresh eggs, so I shouldn't have a problem with the yolk breaking on me, hopefully. There we go. Now I'm going to put my egg white to one side, and now I'm going to take my egg yolk and I'm going to beat it well. One well-beaten egg yolk. I'm just going to use a fork out of my drawer. I suppose if you have one of those little stick mixers that will do up one egg yolk, then that would probably be nice to use for this. If you're not worried about dirtying up too many dishes. Anyway, now to my beaten up egg yolk, I'm now going to add 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. I'm going to beat these two together. Now I've beaten these two together. See how they look? If you can see that or not. And now I take my butter and sugar mixture and I'm going to beat my egg yolk and lemon juice into that. You notice I'm only using a wooden spoon and a spatula today. You can make these cookies very nicely, because honestly I don't consider a wooden spoon and a spatula to be specialized equipment in the kitchen. Now that's what it looks like now. And the next ingredient is 1 cup of all-purpose flour. And that's in Canada. In the United States or in the UK, you would be using strong flour or bread flour for that. So that goes in here in my butter mixture. And that's the last ingredient I put in here. So I'm just going to stir this around till all of my flour is combined with my butter mixture. And then I'm going to start forming my cookies. Oh yes, and I better preheat my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit before I get too much further along. Where this gets fun is when you start baking them in the oven, because you put them in the oven and you put them on for 5 minutes. You take them out and you reinforce that dint you're going to make in the top of these cookies. Then you're going to put them back in for another 10 to 15 minutes. So that should be fun. Now I have no butter or anything else left. It's all integrated into one thing. So there we go. Okay, there's my batter ready to go. And I am now going to, I have my egg white here. No, you haven't forgotten my egg white, right? I'm just going to lightly beat this up. Got my whisk here. You want to beat this up just enough so there's a little bit of froth here, because you are going to dip your cookies in this before you roll them in 1 cup of crushed nuts. See how nice and fine these are? Because you want them to be nice and fine so they'll stick to your cookie. And you don't want big lumps. So then you're going to put them on your cookie sheet. There, that looks lightly beaten enough to stick to my cookies. Now, let's see. Cookie sheet over here. Alrighty, let's get going with the cookies. You're supposed to make balls out of these cookies, so you can either take a spoon from your drawer and make your cookies, or if you have a cookie scoop, you can use a cookie scoop. I have a 3 tablespoon size, that's 45 milliliters, so I'm going to use that. May make my cookies a bit big, and who knows if I'll get the full 2 dozen or not, but we'll see what happens. These are going to be a lot easier to roll into a ball. And now I'm going to dip that in my egg white. And then I'm going to roll that in my crushed nuts. And that's going to go on my cookie sheet. This is going to be messy, I can tell that right now. And for your crushed nuts, if you have a particular fondness for mixed nuts or peanuts or cashews or almonds or pecans or walnuts, hey, whatever kind you like. That's the fun part about baking at home, is that these are the decisions you get to make as the cooker, as the one doing the baking. It might be a little bit large, but I want to make sure that my thing that makes my dent in them is going to work. I could use a 1 tablespoon or 15 milliliter scoop, and that would definitely give me more cookies here. And we're not metric people, because all the metric measurements and everything will be given in my description box down below when I write this up and post this video on YouTube. And there you go, that's what my cookie looks like, all covered with crushed nuts. And I can tell right away that I probably made these cookies bigger than they needed to be, because I have a dozen here and I'm all done with my batter, and I'm supposed to have 2 dozen, so oops. Now the rest of these nuts, I may well put them in the fridge for now, and make another batch of these cookies tomorrow, because I have contaminated these with egg white, so I'm going to have to use them or throw them away. I can't, one or the other. I'll probably use them for something. I'll probably use them for another batch of these cookies. All right, here's my dozen cookies sitting here on my board. And now, let's see which one of these works the best. Make a nice dent in my cookies. Ooh, those are going to be big cookies. I think I like the wooden one better. What you're trying to do is make a kind of a nice deep well in your cookie. And now my cookies go into my preheated 350-degree oven. I'm going to leave them in there for 5 minutes. Then I'm going to take them out, and I'm quickly going to put a new indent in them, make my dent again, so that they're nice and deep. Then I'm going to come back here while they're still hot, and I'm going to put a nice spoonful of jam into each one. Yum. So I'll be back to show you that part, but I probably won't show you them coming out of the oven and getting, dented again. We'll get these in the oven. Here are my cookies, all fresh and hot from the oven, but I'm not finished yet. I'm just going to get these off my cookie sheet onto my cooling rack, and then the final step, which is adding jam to these hot cookies. You want to make sure they're nice and hot out of the oven, because you want that jam to melt right into these lovely cookies. Yes, indeed. Okay, well, let's just pull these cookies towards here. You can see what I'm doing. See, aren't they lovely looking? And they're going to be even nicer looking once I add the jam. I've got a nice bottle of strawberry jam here, and I'm just going to put a nice scoop right here in the middle of my cookie. Yum. Nothing like having some cookie with some jam, eh? If you like jam-filled cookies, it's really a good way to upscale your jam-filled cookies. Your favorite kind of jam. That's what cooking in your own kitchen gives you. It gives you control. If you want to put strawberry jam in them, you put strawberry jam. If you want to put apple jelly, jelly, raspberry jam, you want to put whatever kind of jam or jelly you want to put in them, that's what you put in. There we go, all nicely jam filled. Now they'll melt into a nice little mound. Well, I hope you enjoyed my recipe today, and I hope that you will like, subscribe, leave a comment below, give this recipe a try at home. Check out some of my other over 150 videos I've got out there. And hey, come on back and watch me next time on Ruby's Classic Cooking. Bye for now.